What's up, my friend? My name is Dr. Jay Phoenix Singh, and I want to warmly welcome you to today's masterclass, the 3 templates you need to get accepted to your dream grad school. Now, I know the reason that you're here today. You're deeply passionate about the field and want to land a spot in a doctoral or master's program to make your career dreams come true. But you know, as do I, that acceptance rates are at an all-time low and that funding is more difficult to come by than ever. So we need to use every strategy at our disposal to beat out the competition and make sure that you get in over everyone else. And that's why I've designed this masterclass specifically for you to share some of the top secret templates that I've used to help literally hundreds of applicants get accepted into their dream grad schools. And now I'm going to do the same thing for you. So to get started, if it's all right, I just want to introduce myself quickly. I want you to think of me as your personal graduate school application mentor, your teammate who knows all the tips, tricks, and secrets to getting into the most competitive doctoral and master's programs in the country. And that's why I have an over 80% success rate in helping my clients get into their dream programs. In terms of my academic background, I'm a Fulbright scholar and a faculty member at both the University of Pennsylvania as well as Cambridge. My doctorates are in psychiatry from Oxford as well as clinical psychology from the University of Constance, and I've authored over 90 peer-reviewed publications as well as 4 books. And I'm the only psychology professor to have lectured for all 8 Ivy League universities along with both Oxford as well as Cambridge. So that's a little bit about me, but I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about you today and how we can work together to ensure that you get accepted to your dream grad program. Kicking things off, I want to tell you about something that I refer to as the 5 lies. These are the 5 things that most graduate school applicants believe that if they have them, that they will 100% get into one of the programs they apply to. And these are having a high GPA, having high test scores on exams like the GRE, having research experience, having in-field experience like clinical internships, and having amazing letters of recommendation. Now, 20 years ago, it may have been true that having these qualifications alone would be sufficient, but that's no longer the case. Why? Because every applicant now knows that these are expected of them. Their undergrad supervisors have told them, books and online resources they've looked at have told them, even their friends and families have told them this. All right? But the result is that if you just have those 5 criteria, most people think that compared to other applicants, they're all the way out here and ahead of the curve. But in actuality, although you do need to have all 5 of those as a baseline, I can tell you that having them makes you totally and unfortunately completely average compared to your competition. Now, I know, that's scary to hear, and I can tell you that back when I was applying about 10-15 years ago, that scared me too. But luckily, I can tell you what you actually need to beat out the competition and to be able to get accepted. So if those are the 5 lies, then I call these the 5 truths. First, you need to focus on building a personal relationship with your target supervisor. Now, this can be particularly nerve-wracking, especially if this is someone who you really look up to and respect. Figuring out how to write to them and make an awesome first impression is really hard, but it's necessary so that you can begin to form that bond. Second, you need a CV that's structured in a way that tells a convincing narrative of your educational and experiential background. Most of the time, applicants don't realize just how much fluff there is in their CV, and they don't realize how many easy ways there are to increase its effectiveness. Third, you need a truly unforgettable personal statement. I cannot emphasize this enough. I read countless personal statements each year, and the overwhelming majority are written in a way that is not what supervisors and application committees actually want to see. So, conquer the personal statement and you'll easily be a leading contender during this process. Fourth, to become a top 5% candidate, there are other so-called killer application materials that I want you to try to collect. These are very difficult to get or to do correctly, but that's why they make you particularly competitive. We're talking about things like getting a peer-reviewed publication in an academic journal. We're talking about getting a conference presentation at a national or international conference with a stellar reputation in your specific field. We're talking a diversity statement that truly shines and is incredibly persuasive and well-written. And we're talking academic awards and even small grants that show that you are the best of the best and can bring additional resources to the program that you are applying to. And fifth and finally, you need to perform immaculately in your interviews. I'm talking about preparing for every standard and curveball question that they could throw at you, mastering both in-person as well as remote interview styles, for this is of the utmost importance. Now, this is a lot, and today, during this masterclass, I want to focus on helping you with the first 3 of these. But if you stick around until the very end, I'll give you some amazing resources that you won't find anywhere else to cover both number 4 and number 5. So, let's jump right in. First, as I mentioned, making contact with your dream supervisor is essential to do correctly. I've worked with so many coaching clients who've shown me the emails that they sent, and most, honestly, are not going to get you the response that you want. So I designed this email template for you. It's going to be presented on the next 3 slides, which I'll walk you through step by step right now, and you'll have access to a replay room after you watch all of today's masterclass so you can come back and craft your own. So here we go. Let's take a look and we're going to read together. Dear whatever the honorific of the target supervisor is, make sure you get this right. If they're a professor, say professor. This is really important, especially if you're applying to schools that use kind of a traditional British system. So places like Canada, places like the UK, places like Australia, and so forth, okay? Because a professor in that context is different than a doctor. So it's very important to get the difference. But it could also be a Mr., a Miss, and so forth. And then you want to have the last name of that target supervisor. So for example, Dear Professor Smith. Then let's keep going. Sincerely hoping this message finds you well. My name is, your full name, and I'm currently a, what is your current situation? For example, maybe you're a junior majoring in psychology at the University of Alabama. I wish to write just briefly in order to express my gratitude for your outstanding work on, and then I want you to state a high specificity topic. For example, let's say that you're in psychology like I am. You don't want to say something like, thank you for your seminal work in schizophrenia. It's so generic. It's so broad. It doesn't show that you actually know about this person's work. Because even if you're in a really niche field, oftentimes the research you're doing is even more hyper niche than that. So I want you to read the abstracts, if nothing else, of the pieces where this individual, the target supervisor, is the first author that have been published in peer-reviewed journals over the past 2 to 3 years, and use that to come up with this high specificity topic. So it could be something really niche, like the biological bases of threat control override symptoms in individuals diagnosed with psychotic disorders. Okay, let's keep going. Your recent piece in, then the name of the journal in which the piece was published, make sure you italicize that properly, on the article's topic, was particularly influential in my thinking on the subject, and it inspired me to apply to the name of the program, for example, to the clinical psychology PhD program at where? What's the name of the university? The University of Pennsylvania. And then lastly in this sentence, I want you to say what the timing of the application is, okay? So for example, are you going to be applying for the fall of next year, for instance, or the fall of this year? For example, you could say this fall for the 2023-2024 academic year. Hence, I wanted to ask whether you will be accepting a graduate student for, and then which cycle. For example, this forthcoming application cycle, next cycle, and so on. Let's keep going. Over the past year, I have been working at And then I want you to include either the name of a research lab you've been working in, a clinic, some sort of a facility, whatever it happens to be, but it needs to be something that shows a strong goodness of fit between what you're currently engaged in or have recently been engaged in. For example, maybe you're a research assistant in a lab and you're doing work that's kind of in the same vein, in the same general subfield that this target supervisor is involved with. Or maybe you're working in a psychiatric clinic if you're in a field like mine. And in this clinic, you're seeing a particular type of client, for example, an individual diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. And this researcher, this PI, this supervisor, that's the kind of work that they do. Fantastic. Then that's what we want to mention. So, for example, I give this one here, the Deep South Comprehensive Behavioral Clinic, where I have been, and then what were your main responsibilities? Now, you could include just one key one, like this, which is administering DISC assessments to incoming clients diagnosed with schizophrenia and schizophreniform disorder, or you can list a couple. That would also be fine. Let's keep going. In the coming and then near-term future. It could be in the coming semester, in the coming 6 months, in the coming week, whatever it happens to be. I hope to, and then what are some near-term knowledge or skill acquisition goals that you want to be able to build? So for example, we could say something like this, continue to acquire foundational knowledge on contemporary clinical techniques, as well as research skill sets, such as multivariate data analysis, with hopes of submitting my first journal article manuscript in the next 6 months. Something like that has all the elements that we would be looking for. All right, and then we want to finish with a strong paragraph. It's going to say, by way of introduction, please find attached the latest version of my CV. It would be an absolute pleasure if there might be time in your busy schedule to touch base via a Zoom or phone call. I'm confident that you're very busy, particularly at this time of year. So alternatively, I promise to try to attend a conference at which you will be presenting in, and then give whatever the year is where you will try to attend. All right. So as to introduce myself, formally and in person. That's the reason you're going to go to that kind of a conference. Thanking you for your valued time and looking forward to your response, your full name, so for example, JP Singh, and then your affiliation, Institute of Criminology, and then your university, University of Cambridge. Something like that is going to get the job done. So that's template number one. But you'll notice in that last paragraph, right, the first to last element before I say, basically, thank you for your time, comma, da-da-da, right, that I mentioned the CV. It is critical that your CV is formatted and written perfectly. The structure is key. I'm going to give you that template next, and it is so important that you watch and take notes on that, all right? But before we begin with that second template, let me take 3 minutes, and I promise not more than 3, to tell you what I can specifically do for you to make you one of the best applicants in the country and to get you into your dream graduate program if you want to work one-on-one with me. First, I help you to choose the best graduate programs for you. Whether they're doctoral or master's programs, I help you to find universities with the best fit to get you where you want to be in your career. From faculty members, to the curriculum, to the tuition cost, to the accreditation status, I've got you covered. I see so many people make terrible mistakes in choosing what they thought to be the obvious choices in where to apply. Please don't let yourself be one of those people. Second, I help you choose the best target supervisors who have the strongest goodness of fit with your interests and your learning style. The last thing that you want is to be stuck for years and years with a supervisor who you hate, and there are many time-tested strategies that I've learned over the last 2 decades to make sure that you have a smooth and happy mentee experience. Third, I help you to write the ultimate personal statement. Persuasive, perfectly structured, and written in a crystal clear and elegant fashion. No one is going to have a better personal statement than you. Fourth, I help you to write a compelling diversity statement to clearly show how your unique background and life experiences are going to contribute to each of your dream graduate program's dedication to promoting diversity, equality, and inclusiveness. We refer to this by the acronym DEI. It's a big deal in this forthcoming application cycle. Fifth, I help you prepare your academic CV to make it shine before you submit your application. I literally go through page by page, line by line, reformatting and rewording your content to make sure it is exactly what application committees love to see. The usual CV I go through has a minimum of 10 to 20 errors in it, especially I find when someone is really confident that there aren't any errors. So let me find those and let me fix them for you. 6, I help to train you in both reading as well as writing peer-reviewed publications, including things like journal articles and academic book chapters. This is one of the most critical skills in grad school, and I can help you to master it at this early stage. 7th, I help you to write successful conference paper and poster proposals for both national as well as international conferences that are respected in your specific field. And then I help you write emails to connect with your dream mentors to meet with them when you're there. 8th, if you need lab experience before applying to a research-based program like a PhD in clinical psych, I walk you through step by step to find labs where you can volunteer as a research assistant, even if you've already graduated from undergrad. And 9th, if you need in-field experience such as a clinical internship before applying to something like, let's say, a PsyD program, an MSW, an MA in counseling, I've helped to place countless undergraduates throughout North America and Europe with these types of positions. And 10th, last but not least, I've built up a database of over 300 real interview questions asked by grad school interviewers over the past several years and can help you to prepare perfect answers to all of them. By watching this masterclass, I'm going to give you a limited time opportunity because I really appreciate you watching. If you click the button below, take a look at the offer down there, before the end of this masterclass, you're going to get 25% off your first session with me. If you wait, the offer is no longer going to be available, so be sure to click as soon as possible because I would love to be your personal teammate on this challenging journey and to ensure your application success. But in the meanwhile, let's jump in to Template 2. Template number 2 is going to walk you through the 8 key sections of a perfectly structured academic CV for your grad school applications. If you follow this sequence and have something to write down for each of them in your CV, you are in a great place as an applicant. And if you don't have anything, now you'll know what you need to work on to get a flawless victory. Do you remember Mortal Kombat like I do? Anyway, let's get going. Section 1 is what I refer to as the, quote, top matter. We're talking your full name, followed by a comma, and then the highest degree that you've achieved, for example, BA for a Bachelor of Arts, and then underneath in smaller font, your .edu university email address, preferably not a personal email address like a Gmail, and then the phone number you're most likely to pick up on, so not a landline that you share with your parents or your roommates, and finally, the best mailing address for you. If you can, get the email, phone number, and address on the same line with something in between them, like a bullet, for instance. Section number 2 is going to be named Education. And here's where you're going to list the universities that you've attended for undergrad and also any grad school that maybe you've gone to so far. For example, maybe you want to apply for a doctoral program, you've already completed a master's program. Okay? If your cumulative GPA is at the median or higher for your dream program, then put it in this section. But if not, if your GPA for your major is particularly high, then put that down instead. Make sure that you list the year you graduated or intended to graduate as well. Something I often get asked is whether you need a section on something like relevant coursework. No, they have your transcript. You don't need to put that in this section, all right? So let's keep going. Section 3 is going to be named Awards and Grants. Here I want you to bullet out literally every academic award, scholarship, or grant you've won, as well as the years that you won them. If you've won scholarships or grants, say how much you've won in parentheses. And at the very least, if you are on an honor roll like the Dean's List, put that here in this section as well. Section 4 is going to be named Research Experience and is where you're going to have separate entries for every research assistant or independent study position you've held so far. Be sure to specify the university and lab name where you worked, the name of your supervisor as well, the name of the main project that you worked on, and your primary responsibilities there. This is one of the most important sections of your academic CV, so it's important to get all of it right. Section 5 is next. It's going to be named Publications, and as the name suggests, it's going to list any peer-reviewed publications that you've gotten. Each reference there needs to be in your field standard style. For example, I'm a psychologist, so for me it would be APA style. List the publications in order of recency, and if you have any that are currently under review, you can put those first, and literally, where normally you would put the year of publication, just say under review with a capital U and a capital R, and you'll be good to go. Next is Section 6. This is going to be titled Conference Presentations. And that's where you're going to list any paper or poster presentations that you've gotten prior to applying. Again, use your field standard referencing style. And remember, undergrad conferences and conferences at your university are nice, but they don't really count. To the extent possible, you want to present at national or international conferences in your field and get paper presentations over poster presentations if you can manage it. Section 7 is going to be named either clinical experience or practical experience. And it's going to be where you list your in-field experience that you've gotten so far, working with your target population or your target phenomenon, depending on the kind of grad school you're looking to go to. For example, maybe you're applying to a clinical psychology PhD program and you had an internship at your local psychiatric hospital administering basic mental health assessments. Perfect. This is where you would put that, and specify who your supervisor was and what your primary responsibilities were. And as a quick aside, if you're applying to programs which are more clinically oriented, like a PsyD, MSW, MA in counseling, so forth, then this section is going to go above the research experience section. Right. And finally, Section 8 is going to be named Professional Memberships. This is a secret that just so few people know about, and I'm really excited to share with you. Don't just join Psy-Chi and your university's psychology society. I also want you to join the major national or international associations in your field. I want you to join them as a quote-unquote student member. It'll be inexpensive, and it's going to give reviewers of your application the perception that you're passionate enough about the field to get involved at a much higher level than the average applicant. As a last note, you do not need a skill set section, a references section, or a volunteer experience section, or something like a leadership section. You don't need those sections. Key skill sets, you can put those in your personal statement, and your references should already be writing letters of recommendation. And as for volunteer experiences, if they can't go already under something like the research experience or the practical or in-field or clinical experience section, depending on what you want to call it, then it's something where, honestly, it's not worth putting into the CV. Now, it's always something you could bring up in terms of volunteer leadership experiences during an interview, but it just doesn't have to go in the CV per se, especially because usually they limit the number of pages or the number of words that you can have in your application CV. Now, these are the 8 key sections of a perfectly structured CV, but equally important are how the CV is formatted and how the content is written. A beautiful and elegantly prepared CV will put you above your competition, and if you're interested, I can help do that for you. But for now, on to the third and my personal favorite template of today. Writing your graduate school personal statement is easily one of the, if not the, biggest challenges you're going to face during the application process. There are so many ways to get it wrong, and over the past 2 decades, I have seen everything you can imagine, but I've managed to crack the code, and now I'm going to share with you my secret 5-paragraph structure that's resulted in an 80% success rate in getting my clients accepted to their dream grad schools. And then I'm going to give you an amazing template that's going to cut down the amount of time that you spend on writing your personal statement significantly. So stick with me here. Here we go. Paragraph 1 serves as a narrative introduction to you. It's the only paragraph that bears any resemblance to an undergraduate admissions essay, insofar as it needs to start with a compelling hook that's related to a specific experience that made you passionate about your field. And remember, it's meant to hook me, keep me reading, keep me curious, keep me thinking. Say something that leaves me hanging, and then provide greater and greater context to that hook in subsequent sentences, ending that initial paragraph with a statement about how the experience resulted in your decision to apply for their specific program. So that's going to be paragraph number 1. Then we transition into paragraph 2, which is where you're going to provide information on your educational background to date. You'll want to include information such as what universities you've attended, your majors, the GPA, if it's particularly high, the nature of the coursework you've completed, but only advanced courses related to your area of graduate studies, and any leadership experience that you've acquired along the way. You see, you don't have to have in the CV. You can put it here. You want to give the perception in this paragraph that you will academically thrive in a top grad school and have established the foundational knowledge you need to jump right in and be an asset to their program. And then we transition on to paragraph number 3, which is going to focus either on your research experiences to date or your in-field experiences to date, whichever is the focus of your dream program. Let's assume for the moment that it's a program that highly values research experience, like a clinical psychology PhD program. Well, here in that case is where you're going to want to provide a narrative of what is in your CV in terms of your research assistant positions and how they've positioned you to be an effective grad student researcher. In particular, what have the projects you've worked on been and what have they taught you? What skills did you pick up along the way? This is the kind of content that I want you to put into this paragraph. And then we transition into paragraph 4, which is going to be about your in-field experiences to date. Just like for the previous paragraph, this is all about the narrative. Tell a convincing story of what these experiences have taught you and how they've equipped you with the basic practical knowledge you need to thrive in grad school. And then moving on to paragraph 5, this is the one that you are going to need to tailor most for every program you apply to. It's the paragraph in which you establish your unique goodness of fit with the program and specify how attending their university is going to help you hit your unique career goals. This is the one chance you have before an interview to show precisely why you chose their program and to show that you know a lot about their program. Bear with me for one moment though, because I'm going to come back to this one in just a second, okay? But lastly, quickly, paragraph 6 is optional based on whether you have enough pages, if there's a max page count, or enough words, if there's a max word count. The goal of this brief paragraph is simply to express gratitude for the time that readers have spent on reviewing your personal statement and stating that you look forward to hopefully having the opportunity to improve your knowledge base and skill set at their prestigious program. Now, just like for the CV, the perfect structure is one thing, but writing convincingly and elegantly is another matter. Luckily, I've developed a strategy for writing each of these paragraphs, and today I'm going to show you exactly, literally exactly, what to write for one of the 2 most difficult paragraphs in your personal statement. And the one I'm going to be sharing with you today is the one for paragraph 5. I promised you we'd come back, right? Establishing program goodness of fit with your goals. If you were wondering what the other hardest one was, no doubt paragraph 1. So hard to get right. But for paragraph 5, in terms of this template, let's have a look. Read through this with me. My academic, research, and clinical experiences over the past however many years have not only confirmed my desire to pursue could be an academic career, a clinical career, depends on what you're applying to, in your target field. For example, for me, it would be clinical psychology. But also that the name of the target program, get this from the website. Make sure that you specify exactly what the name of the program is. This is a big mess up that a lot of people have. They'll say something like this, clinical psychology PhD program. But maybe for that particular program, they call it clinical psychological sciences. Oh, big mess up. You will be rejected. It shows that you don't understand what this program is about. They'll assume you just copied and pasted this. Again, we need to tailor this, okay? at the name of the target university is the perfect place to begin the journey of making contributions to the field. The programs, and then I want you to list 3 things that, again, the program website highlights. What do they think is unique about their program? And where possible, use their own wording. Now, let's go ahead and give you an example here. Rigorous scientific coursework. Emphasis on training students to generate empirically based knowledge and focus on clinical work informed by both traditional and emerging scholarship. Boom, boom, boom. We call it the rule of 3. Use it. Are ideal for my interests and career goals. Specifically, I'm interested in, and again, we have the honorific, doctor, professor, Mr., Miss, whatever it happens to be, and then the full name of the target supervisor. So for example, Professor Jane Doe, and there, groundbreaking empirical work on, again, a high specificity topic. You see that we can actually use the information that we entered in that email to the target supervisor, save that wording. We can reuse it here. I'm all about finding the fastest, most efficient ways to be able to get these things written for you, but at the highest quality. Again, so we could say something here, groundbreaking empirical work on the biological bases of threat control override symptoms in individuals diagnosed with psychotic disorders. Yes, you've heard that before. And then after that, I want you to add 1 to 2 additional sentences clarifying more about the research and what you would like to explore to continue the target supervisor's research line. This is really important. Don't talk about only, oh, well, it doesn't matter what the target supervisor is looking at. I want to look at this. No, think about what the target supervisor right now, what are their priorities. You can even go to their CV and take a look at what grants they're currently funded for, because that really is going to tell you what it is that they're going to be focusing on in the near-term future. And then put that here, right? Take that into consideration when you're deciding how you want to pitch yourself in your research interests. Let's keep going. The implications of these findings could, and then I want you to have a statement of the possible implications of the research that you hope to do in grad school, but specific to relevant stakeholder groups. So, for example, you could say something like, enhance our understanding of the etiology of autism and possibly improve diagnostic processes and treatment efficacy. Now, if you wanted to, you could throw in a professional stakeholder group there. For example, behavioral health professionals, mental health professionals, so on and so forth. So that's what I would say for that paragraph. So now that we've gone through today's 3 templates, I want to give you some cool additional resources that you can use on your application journey. Remember that there are many other parts of the average grad school application, and I want to give you resources for all of them. First, to learn how to write and publish peer-reviewed journal articles step by step, as well as how to write successful conference paper and poster proposals for leading conferences, I want you to check out the brief online courses at Publication Academy. And you could visit them at this link, which is www.publicationacademy.com. Next, to learn about how to write an amazing diversity statement, I want you to check out the free videos on my YouTube channel, Navigating Academia, and here's the link for that. Finally, to find academic awards and small grant opportunities, I want you to go to the websites for the main associations for your niche. For example, for me, instead of it being the American Psychological Association, more niche would be the American Psychology Law Society, which is actually Division 41 of the APA. Once you're on your niche association's homepage, I want you to look under something that will be named something like resources. It'll be a specific tab usually, to try and find the names of their awards and what you need to submit in order to win one. Remember, I also want you to become a master of interview preparation, and I know that that can be a little nerve-wracking sometimes. So write down these links because they'll lead you to full practice interview videos from me, which include samples of real questions asked to real grad student applicants over the past several years. There is nothing like these on the internet, and you're gonna love them. And if you want more practice and to be able to become even better prepared, just book a session with me. And remember, that offer is still good. And I recommend clicking down on the offer below to be able to book that session with me right now. And to close out today, I want to give you links to some of my favorite top secret grad school application resources that you aren't going to find anywhere else without hours and hours of digging. First, I want you to download Discord, which is an app that you can use from your smartphone or computer, and join these 3 Discord servers: Grad Connect, Grad Buddies, and Global PhD. The communities on these servers are so supportive and will provide you with a ton of additional resources and give you the opportunity to be able to ask the applicant community, of which you're going to be one of them, to be able to give you some advice on different topics. Second, if you're applying for a graduate program in psychology, the best set of online resources on Google Drive that I have ever found can be found at this link on your screen right now. Write it down. And third, if you're looking for my favorite set of open access application materials registered with the Open Science Framework, you may have heard of it, acronym is the OSF, check out this link here. So that's all for today, my friend. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to click the offer button below to be able to get 25% off your first one-on-one session with me. I'm excited to be your partner on this exciting but really stressful and challenging journey, because together we're going to get you accepted. Peace, and I look forward to seeing you soon.